today's live sessions from the Connectory. As you can see, I'm not at the Connectory right now. I was there yesterday. Unfortunately, not today. So what you will see is my lamp and my white background, unfortunately. But we hope to do this in the future as well from the Connectory to make it also more interesting and engaging. So today, I have with me Aaron from Promotable, and just a little bit more about what these sessions are. So in these sessions, what we are doing is having a chat with some of our members just to learn, what's going on with their companies, what's going on in the last crazy months that we've all experienced, and very importantly, to understand the role and what they're doing to make IoT better for everyone in the community and the ecosystem that Chicago is bringing up and has been bringing up for the last many few years. So when I met Aaron, I was trying to understand, what is going on with how people learn about data analytics when they are not professionals. And I will say I'm not a professional in data analytics by any means, but I understand the importance of the topic as more and more devices come into connectivity and how this data is just exploding, right? So even if you are not in a tech job, this data becomes so important. And I was very impressed to see what Aaron is doing for those people that are not professionals in the area but have the need to learn more about it. So I'm always fascinated to talk to Aaron. And Aaron, welcome to live sessions from the Connectory. We're very happy to have you. I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself and Promotable, and yeah, tell us what's going on with you.
Well, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can do these back in the Connectory, because that space that you have is really quite nice. But yeah, so I'm Aaron, founder of Promotable. So what we are, we're a workforce accelerator that closes data skill gaps. And what does that mean? Well, we're really solving for that problem that is that mismatch between the skills companies need from their employees and what people learn, whether in college or on the job. And that's only been increased since COVID, right? We kind of have seen like this paradigm shift, if you will, where we're really starting to accelerate what companies are looking for, and really that shift towards more people becoming data native, if you will, or that digital skill building and upskilling. And so we're solving that problem on two ends, right? Both in terms of helping empower non-technical people who might be in marketing or product or finance, really learn how to use data to get better at what they do already, what they do best. And then also for companies as well, helping to solve that talent problem by taking these people that are really good at what they do, and you want your marketers to have data skills to be able to understand how to leverage the information that they're collecting to solve those their company's problems.
That's nice. And you brought a term that I think is used widely and maybe a little bit misunderstood, but upskilling or reskilling, this topic I think is interesting for many people that are looking to change jobs or maybe stay in the same job but be better at some of these technical skills. Can you tell us more about how do you see this topic of upskilling or reskilling?
Yeah, so I agree. I think it is definitely, a term is thrown around quite a bit. But I think really it's something that we've always done. I think what's changed is that the pace of technology has changed faster than it has before. So tech is changing faster than learning is really able to accommodate. So people need to continuously learn and upskill, if you will. And right now that next big upskill push is helping folks on that non-technical side, on that business side, become data literate, if you will. Not everyone needs to be a Python coder, right? But what we're talking about really is, what's the business question? How do we collect the information to solve that question? How do we identify which metrics we use? What kinds of information is available? And if you switch information to data, then we start going into some of those core upskilling issues.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. And in terms of how are you helping people upskill or learn this become data proficient? I remember those days, when we were at the Connectory and you had sessions where you had 20 people in a classroom, and then there were more coming to these meetups. So they were outside of the classroom. So your talks were very popular, and I think people were very they're coming back every time you were doing some of these sessions. Obviously, because of COVID, you were not able, or you are not able to continue this in person. And so I would like to understand how did you adapt? How has, what has worked well for you in the times of COVID to continue helping these participants? And what of what has happened have you learned and you're planning to implement into the future of Promotable?
Yeah, so I think we've learned a lot, like a lot of people, right? It's not like we didn't do things online before, right? But there is a big change when we're looking to really engage folks. I think the real value add is learning. Of course, everyone wants to learn the skill, right? But it's being able to put yourself in a room and ask practitioners who do it every single day, right? How does this matter in practice? And really, we're kind of kept like very steady numbers from like. Yeah, so we packed 40 people into that room that was became standing room only, which was always really cool. People kept coming back and really enjoyed it, and we've essentially done that and just increased the scale. So now we do kind of something similar to what we do here, right? Where we bring on folks who sometimes they start with a talk, sometimes it might be kind of an informal interview like we're doing now, and we're able to open that up for questions. And so now we have a similar kind of core group that always comes back to learn different topics. And I'd say every time we probably have about half new, half about 50% of people are returning users. So it's really interesting. We're able to broaden that base a little bit and really bring more folks into the fold, both more your non-technical people who are our core audience, and then also we're starting to find, and I'll dive into a little bit later, but folks who may have already started to do that reskilling, right? I think upskilling is a marketer who learns some data, so they're a data-driven marketer. Someone who's reskilling is someone who says, I don't want to do marketing anymore. I want to become a software engineer or a data scientist or a cloud computing engineer or whatever. And so we're seeing a lot of that reskilling crowd come in, and they're ultimately looking to learn similar things, right? How do I talk to people? How do I get in the room? How do I learn those critical insights that you can't get from a classroom? Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that's what we're helping to deliver.
And that's good, and that brings me to the next important topic, I think, for all of us. So I think through the pandemic, many workers that used to be in person and collaborating with their colleagues to maybe solve some of their questions around data, like could walk over to you and say, Aaron, sorry, can you help me with this report or this information from Tableau, right? Things like this. That doesn't exist anymore. I mean, if I'm sitting alone in my, drinking my coffee on the computer, I have to learn either by myself, or I need to start tapping into people like, please help me and share your screen, all these things. So it's difficult, right? Mm-hmm. So for the non-professionals, and that brings me also a very nice question from the chat here from Marendra. Thanks for your question. What are if I want to start in the journey of becoming better with data, what are the first steps or courses or tools that you would recommend for someone? Even and in the times of pandemic at the moment, which I'm sure there's a lot that you cannot do in person, but
Sure, yeah, there is obviously a lot more you can do when we're able to do things in person. I'll say so. We'll caveat this with, I think it always depends on someone's background and what your goal is, what you're looking to do. If it's I'm a marketer and I want to become a better marketer and learn some data, that's one thing. If you're like, hey, I want to make a full transition, different conversation. But really, I think it starts. I think most of the time we want to jump into the really sexy stuff. Tableau, Alteryx, all the fancy tools, machine learning, right? If you want to learn about data, honestly, the first thing of my soapbox issue is, what's the business question? It sounds trivial, right? But I can tell you, like, I've had a lot of conversations with big companies, and they mess this part up, and then they wonder why their data spend isn't generating a return, right? You start there, and then it's learning things like some basic SQL queries, right? If you want to be able to talk to a database, that's an easy first step. It's something that no matter what you do will always be valuable. And some sort of data visualization, right? We teach Tableau, but that's by no means like the one you have to have. Like if your company has the Microsoft suite, get Power BI, it's probably free. And really just learn to connect. I think the biggest problem that on the technical side is they fail to connect what they're doing, whether it's creating a statistical model or whatever, to the business problem. And honestly, I think it's I think business people have that problem too, to be honest with you. Sometimes is connecting that KPI to something that really matters. Like we had, speaking of our talks, we had someone on the data side over at Marriott, and one of the things that was that he said was, I get reports with tons of things, 25 things, and what really drives decisions is probably 3 metrics. So what should we be measuring, and what's a waste of time? What's a vanity metric? And understanding those kinds of concepts, I think, will really help to not only you'll learn the skills you need, but really how to apply them to actually drive value for your company or whatever.
Okay, so that's a good hint. So at the end of the day, business is always behind business, or depending, right? The goal of the organization where you are working, right? And for sure, you can get lost, right? As an employee of a company, in this case, for example, you mentioned Marriott, for example. So if you are not, if I would like to explore the area of data analytics, but I'm not sure that I know where to go first, or what is a good source for me to get started, is there a session with Promotable that they can explore? Do you have like an intro session or some type of recording that people can go into, just get their feet wet a little bit with the topic in a simple way?
Yeah. I mean, so of course we have our YouTube channel, which is, we've recorded all of our talks. So there's about 50 on there. We have our what we call Data Jumpstart. These are like very short intro courses, very hands-on. And then of course we have our longer, part-time 8-week courses. Those are all online now as well. So those kind of dive into the basics, and they're all designed for someone who's like me. Like I'm not someone who has a computer science degree and decided to then learn data science. I always came from the business side and said, how do I learn enough data to get better at my job and communicate with my teams?
That's great. That's great. So in this talk, also in the title, we said we're going to talk about innovation and data analytics, right? So I think, and this is the part where the Connectory is trying to bring innovation to the hands of the startups that are working there and the organizations that are there. So how do you see data analytics enabling the new ideas for companies? What have you seen in your talks or in your conversations with these important executives from companies that you know? How do they see that connection? Has data become so crucial for them to innovate in new services and products, or is still data more like an execution tool for them? Or what's your perspective about innovation and data analytics?
I mean, I think some companies, it's across the board, right? I think there are more forward-looking companies, and there's always, when you talk about huge companies, there might be some groups that are very forward-thinking and some groups that are kind of stuck doing what they're doing, and that's fine, right? But I think what we're starting to see is data. Everyone wants to collect as much data as possible, right? Right now, everyone's heard the word, the phrase "data is the new oil," this kind of stuff. I think the next step is to understand that data might be the new oil, but you can't just stick crude oil into a car and hope it works, right? And so you have to refine it and figure out what you want from it. And I think that's the biggest challenge for companies today, is to say, okay, well, we want to innovate. We're not really sure where we want to go with it, but ultimately make more money, cut down costs, or find new products, right? And so it's figuring out that question and then really going in, and then data becomes an asset. But oftentimes what you start to see is we just start collecting data to collect it. In that case, you just create technical debt, right? Then it just becomes a liability.
And this is, I think, important, right? At the end of the day, also for the people that get benefited with your talks, if they understand the value of data, from the perspective of I can open new businesses, or I use the data to just execute the service that they're doing. And I think what we see in the Internet of Things is that every new device that you connect to your service or what you are doing will generate data, right? Yeah. And like you said, this data is coming up a little bit unrefined, right? Because you have like a data stream coming in that you cannot give to a business developer, for example, to say, use this data to to talk to a customer and help them have a better experience with our product, right?
Yeah.
So this refinement of data
Mm-hmm.
is one of those topics that I think if you would like to become do you need to become a data scientist to refine this data, or
It depends on what
what?
you're collecting. I mean, my opinion is that not everyone needs to be a data scientist at all, and not everyone. You don't need to be a data scientist to leverage data, right? At the end of the day, if you are in any sort of business, like you use information to make decisions. Ultimately, information is data. However you collect it, right? Now, I think when we talk about what kind of those examples specifically, like, I think companies rush to hire data scientists and forget that to collect that data and to package it in a way that analysts or data scientists can actually use, you still need to hire data engineers, right? You have to have someone to build those pipelines. You have to, and then your data scientists, your statistician types, and then you have your analysts that are supposed to translate for business. And so really, it's a whole team effort to really take that data from, like, if you're a Caterpillar, right, and each one of your earth-moving machines has like 10,000 components that are each moving, feeding you data.
Right.
Well, you need to pull it all in, and you still need someone on the business side to say, well, I'm really interested in understanding how frequently these 13 parts break down, how fast they need to be reused. Can we sell a service on top of that, right? Or in the case of some of our speakers, we had someone who was really, really good from Claire's. I don't know if everyone remembers, the thing where everyone gets their ears pierced when they're like 12 years old in the mall. But basically, he was talking about, well, we leverage machine learning and all this data we collect from our sales to figure out which kinds of products we should make in the future. So how do we know which color earrings to sell next quarter? And that's what they're trying to innovate on. How do we get those customers and connect with those customers based on this information that we've been collecting?
So this is interesting to also for the audience. I hope to understand that then this team analytics effort is a team effort at the end of the day, right? So there's not this expectation, at least, that one single person in the organization will take the raw data coming from a device, or in the case of an Internet of Things situation, translating the data, putting it in a report that is usable, analyze it, and then make a decision, right? It's a chain, right? It's like a value chain that at the end, if you would like to upskill and go into a data, related job, it's important that you understand the process or how the value is generated, so that you can decide, where to plug in, right, or what the organization needs.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And there's even like the visualization people, right? I have a friend who all she does is she makes the reports, but she makes them pretty and understandable for whoever your stakeholder is.
Right.
So that, like, otherwise, like, you hand someone in the C-suite, 20,000 rows of data, they're going to laugh you out of the room, right? So you have to understand who you're talking to and what they care about, right? Yeah, but I remember it was just a couple of years ago when we the Bosch Digital Day.
Digital Day. Okay. Oh yeah.
I had this slide that I stole from one of my previous speakers because it was amazing about that exact point. Basically, like, companies want a data scientist, and it has the Venn diagram of someone who is an amazing coder, a statistician, a visualization specialist, and then it points to a unicorn because if you want to upskill, right, there's on the business side, you're probably going to be more in the analyst / translating data into decisions kind of stuff.
Right.
If you're on the engineering side, you might become a data engineer instead of just a software engineer, or something like that.
And it's interesting to talk about visualization because we all need to remember that data is used by humans, right? Yeah. Of course, other machines can use the data, but they don't need to have it pretty and all these things. I've been in meetings where you show a deck of slides to a group of executives, and they will just not look at the slides if there's something wrong in the colors, or the font is too small, or things like this. So can you imagine all this effort, right? And then your audience is saying, "Sorry, I don't want to see this because the color is wrong," right?
Yeah.
Sounds maybe exaggerated, but it's true, right? But it happens, right? It's completely true.
One of the things that one of the reasons I started Promotable after a number of times of going to my manager and saying, "Hey, I'm going to show you guys how to make way more money." You pull up your Excel spreadsheet, you've made this beautiful model, you watch their eyes glaze over, and you've lost the meeting 2 minutes in.
Yep.
You don't even pay attention anymore.
Exactly.
It's like, well, it's like we solved this problem. I've made you an extra $1 million, but it doesn't matter because I didn't prepare enough to show it in such a way that would make sense for them quickly.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and at the end of the day, this is clearly a problem that into the future, more data available. How do you compress it in a way that it can be digested, right? I guess by the audience.
That's the biggest challenge, right? It's digesting it and making sure that it relates to what that person cares about.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very hard to do, but very important. All right, so we're gonna close with another question that I think is important for everyone in the audience as well. So now we're hopefully coming out of the pandemic in a certain way. We hopefully be able to do in-person events sometime soon. So what are the plans of Promotable and Aaron coming back into possibilities of doing in-person trainings? What are you thinking? What is in your plans?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I think COVID definitely, things are never going to be the same. People are more okay with and actually want more online live training. I think what people don't want is just a bunch of recordings. I think that got old quickly. But that said, I think, in my opinion, there's a lot of value to be had in being able to connect and meet people. And I see that in my events. Like, we use a platform called AirMeet, and one of the nice things is that people get to sit at a table and talk to each other. So there's 12 screens of I don't want to say strangers, but strangers, and you can actually like have that kind of interactivity, and that's something that I think we've lost a little bit and we crave. But also, I think from our plans, we want to start doing our in-person events and classes again. And one of the next things that we're doing to solve this problem for not just non-technical people, but also folks who want to fully reskill and become data scientists, is we're going to be launching a fully immersive data science bootcamp. So it's going to be 15 weeks full time, and we'll be doing that starting out online, of course, and then we want to transition that to in person, because I think that's one of the biggest gaps that we have for anyone looking to break into an industry. Right? It's one thing to learn stuff, but I think the biggest challenge is not learning, and not just learning to code, but how do you put yourself in a position to be successful, right? And that's connecting with people who are in the field already. That's putting yourself out there. That's shaking hands, right? That's going to these kinds of things.
Right.
That's putting yourself at a place like the Connectory where you can actually say, oh, well, here, there's 10 people who work at 10 companies that do very interesting things that I would like to work at, and I want to learn what that means, right?
Right.
And so we're putting together this full scale program of learning. And then, of course, we've wrapped it into 1871, so folks have that opportunity as well to get their mentorship, and we have all the promotable mentors as well. So all of our guest speakers, former instructors, they've been included into this program, so you're able to learn things that you can't get from someone who's just teaching you and talking at you.
Right.
And then, of course, also the biggest challenge that I see is that there is still a bit of a mismatch between what companies need, right? They want someone who has experience, and it's that chicken and egg situation, right? Companies want someone with experience, but folks who are trying to break in have no way of getting real experience.
Right.
We're solving that problem by working with some of our partners, so that our students who go through our course also get placed for projects with some growth stage companies, so they really get to do real work and see what that looks like, not just downloading something from Kaggle or so a nice clean data set, but like, this is what it looks like in the real world. These are the problems that we solve. So companies get to really see, oh, this person works really hard. This person's really smart. This person will be a good fit.
Right.
In a way that they wouldn't be able to see from a standard resume. And our students get something that is better. It's the experience you can't buy. And we're wrapping all that into an income share agreement. So we say what we mean, and we put our money where our mouth is.
Nice. So that sounds interesting, and I think it's we're gonna post obviously that information for the bootcamp, as well, for anyone in the audience who is interested in learning more. But I think I put myself in as a recent graduate or someone that has worked in some other industry and try to move into data. I agree with you. Sometimes this problem, like, okay, I want someone that already can do stuff, but there's very minimal chances to get the real world experience. So I'm very hopeful to see Promotable with sessions again at the Connector. I think you hit the topic exactly on the head. The Connectory and this networking of maybe introducing people to potential employers or executives, or having this conversation, maybe coffee in hand or beer in hand, and just have like a heart to heart. Hard to do online. I think there are tools that are starting to get into that, but this face-to-face interaction, it has been proven to be almost not replaceable, right?
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, I get asked frequently, what should I do? How do I get started? And one of the things I tell people, in addition to learning those hard skills are great, but everyone learns hard skills, right? You want to be able to, like, my goal with our programs is to put you in the room.
Okay.
And then you can close it, right? But if you're trying to get in that room, how do you do it? It's go to LinkedIn. Don't ask for a job, right? Say, hey, I want to learn more about what you do. Can we have 10 minutes for coffee, right? And someone who like really wants to hustle, if you can get a meeting a week, you're able to really build those relationships, and that's what's going to lead to your next opportunity.
That's awesome, man. So I appreciate your time today, Aaron. It's we talk once in a while, but there's I always learn a lot when I talk to companies, and what I think you guys are doing in Promotable is very valuable to the times we're experiencing, and we know there's a lot of people that are between jobs right now because of the pandemic. So what a great opportunity to find a way to find that next opportunity in a topic that will keep growing right into the future. So so that's a great thanks for being part of the community and be part of the Connectory. Everyone joining, thanks for joining. It's been a great opportunity for me to moderate this session with Aaron, and we'll keep pushing more and more of these talks into the future, and hopefully in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thanks for having me. If anyone has questions, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. Always happy to chat with anyone offline if they've got some specific questions. If I can point you in the right direction, I'd love to.
Excellent. Thank you again. Have a great day, everyone. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.